Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Planning Board meeting of May 15th, 2018. Would you all please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. So I'm going to try to do this without my machine because unfortunately, I apologize. My mind is kind of not working here. Thank you very much. Appointment of alternates this evening. I know that Dennis Page is not with us this evening. He sent me an email that he will not be in attendance tonight, and I don't believe Kate Rogers is here.
Kate emailed as well.
She did. Okay, I didn't see that. All right, great. So, Tony, would you be interested in being an alternate this evening?
Yes.
As a voting member, if we need you. Okay, great. Roll call of members. Michael Croto, Chair.
Stephen Weber, selectmen's are up.
Kimberly Queenan, Vice Chair.
Joe Blanchett, Clerk.
Tony Turecki, alternate.
Okay. First off, public input of non-agenda items. Are there any members of the public who wish to speak on non-agenda items this evening? Opening it up. And looking out there in the audience, I don't see anybody, so I will attend a closed public input on non-agenda items. The first order of business this evening is the master plan community design chapter. And Jen?
I'm actually going to kick it to Cassie.
Okay.
But I'll just say the last few meetings we've worked on the master plan. We've made some progress on working on some sketching and some ideas and some general stuff, and we haven't revisited the draft. And so what we have tonight is the updated draft that incorporates the last, I think, 3 meetings worth of conversations. And every night when I'm here and we work on it, I take some notes and I bring it back and I give them to Cassie, and Cassie works some magic behind the scenes. So she's gone through all of the edits that you had 3 meetings ago. It might have been in January when we actually looked at the last version of the draft. She went to the Dara Pond Recreation Commission meeting with you guys. And so those notes are in here, as well as the work we did at our last meeting a month ago are in now. So at that, I'm going to...
Okay, so I incorporated all the changes that you guys recommended for replacing the word should. So all of the... substantively, it's all of the same information. It's just the language was tweaked a little bit in that first section. Everything that's new material starts under the recreation section on part F. The historic River's Edge Park is all new, which I believe is from the last meeting that you had. I've incorporated the sketches that you guys did. The Dara Pond are next after that, and the sketches there for that one. And then after that is the Town Hall Liberty Way Park visioning. And there's some pictures and the sketch that you did for that. So it's just basically everything that you guys discussed I kind of put into a little section for each one. And that's basically everything I did so far that's different from the last time you guys talked about it.
Yeah.
Okay, nice. Thank you very much.
So at this point, we just wanted to get your feedback on where things are at, whether it's captured the conversation thus far, any other suggested edits. We go from there.
Just small. Page 2, when we talked about the variety of buildings, you actually have a section called variety. This is, again, it's up to the board. We talked, one of them was a condex, and I don't know if you wanted to add that in there. We talked about different variety of housing.
Right.
In here, yeah. And again, I don't know if you want that in there, but we have other ones listed. We have some in Litchfield already. Is that the board sees that happening still, or condex homes?
I can just put it in the list.
You can just add it to the list. I just want to make sure there's no rejection to that.
I mean, a condex is a formal two-family home.
Yeah.
Think of it that way.
Yeah, the two.
Yeah, so duplex, condex, it all depends on the ownership structure.
Okay. Yep. Just a question, and I didn't write it down, but remember the accessory dwelling unit stuff we loved so much a few back? Is that for single family homes only? Or could that be a multi, or maybe we shouldn't even bring it in here, because you know how it's in other chapters that we have, and when we have to make a change to it, we have to change multiple master chapters. I don't know if you even want it in here. Just throwing that out there.
Yeah, we can certainly reference accessory dwelling unit. So by definition, under state statute, an accessory dwelling unit, it's accessory to a single family home. If you've already got a multifamily home and it's a multifamily home at that point. But it's something to qualify as an accessory dwelling unit, it's got to be subordinate to something else.
I think that was where you were saying, you know, maybe when we get that we have an aging population and we're trying to get the homes to be, you know, have that. And that's where accessory dwelling units started, didn't finish there by law, but it was to help have somebody live in the home.
Yes.
To help you stay in your home kind of thing. Or college student.
What's that in architectural features? There was somewhere where we had a comment.
Yeah, that'll come up later.
Single.
I don't know if you want it here, because again, once we change accessory dwelling units in one master chapter, we have to go back and make sure we keep everything in sync, right? So but that was just.
No, I think it's okay to just have a general reference, and you wouldn't be throwing anything off. So we could just.
And I understand this is a guideline. This isn't the law, but it's just the guideline. Well, we'll get to that. I think I found. You want me to find that first before we go on, or I think it comes up.
I got
later.
it right here. Yeah.
Okay.
As do ADUs. Simple.
Okay. Which section?
So it's just that paragraph right before it. Under massing and scale, the next to last sentence says, in addition to traditional two-story homes, single-story houses promote and enable engaging in place. And you could simply just say, as do accessory dwelling units. And it would just keep it simple. It draw on a reference, and
now we have a bookkeeping exercise. If we ever change it somewhere, we're going to change it
no,
everywhere.
there's no bookkeeping exercise with this. You're good. It's just your master plan, and just a place to document your ideas and visions.
Can I keep going? I just have a few things. Okay, unless anyone wants to jump in.
It's a
All
workshop,
right.
so.
When you did the sketches that we had, which are great, and like I'm going to go to anyone. Let me just pick one. Let's find one. Let's see. Page 7 has the first one. You always have what it is described underneath. Do we ever want to say the Litchfield Planning Board in 2018? Do we ever want to date it?
Sure.
I don't know if you do or don't. It's what do you know how it always says I get in here.
If you go to the very last page, that sketch was actually dated.
That one was okay. Let me see
Yeah,
that one.
from September 19th of 2009.
That one there on the bottom. Yeah, but yeah, I see that one here. That was the 275th town, but that's in the sketch itself, right?
Right.
But here, when we're like underneath the picture.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't know if I don't know if you want to lock into a date.
Yeah.
Do you guys
Just
want
put
to
a
say
year
we
or
did the
something.
sketch in 2018 or?
Yeah, I would say like the year. I don't think we need a full date, but yeah.
Oh yeah, the year, just roughly
Yeah.
the year. But are you okay? Does anybody have a problem with it?
I don't think there's
I think it's a good idea.
Right here.
necessarily
I
an
thought
issue
we
with
just
it.
say the
That way if
Litchfield
anything
Planning
changes, we can
Board,
be like, well,
you know,
this
had
is-
this vision, but it doesn't kind of say when. This chapter could be out there for 10 years.
Yep.
Yeah.
But it's up to you, whatever you guys want to do that or not. You want to have
That was March.
a discussion on it?
No, I think it's a good
Definitely
idea.
need to lighten it up.
Yeah, I think that's fine.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
you're updating the master plan at the time.
Right.
And trying to refer back to an old one or something. Maybe a date can be helpful.
Yeah, for sure.
When they do master plan changes, she comments out and she strikes out in red and puts the new lines in so we can actually see the revisions happening, you know.
It's really cool. Yeah,
Okay, so that was
I-
just, I didn't know if you wanted to do that, but just. All right, let's see. Page 7. First whole paragraph, you had pound A instead of 3A, Route 3A, just a
Oh, yeah.
typo.
It's the same key you hit shift.
Yeah.
That's all right. I'm not okay. I think this document was awesome. Really. I don't remember the first one being, so full. This was great. I don't know why I said page 12 signage. What did I do on what's page 12 signage mean? Hold on.
Jeez.
Oh, I thought we
referring
had a
to the welcome
sign already
signs.
there. Yeah.
We do.
Yeah.
They were donated.
Oh, so G on signage on page 12 at the bottom.
Yeah,
Unless we haven't
haven't
written
actually
those.
developed this section yet.
Okay, we have two. I don't know if it's incorporated or founded. I screwed that one up. But
Put a photograph of the
we have two
sign.
signs, right? I know one of them
One.
is
We have
up,
one.
but I'm not sure the other
Yeah,
one.
one.
One is definitely up on the Hudson Litchfield.
Right.
line.
Okay.
So maybe you have a photograph with that one in here.
Okay.
Instead of the Mount Vernon one.
Is the other one going to be going on the Manchester or the
There were two signs bought, right?
London?
No, there's one. There's
No,
one new one at
one?
the south end.
Oh, really? Oh, I thought there were
Oh,
two.
Is the granite one still up at the north end, Heidi?
What's that?
Yeah.
Is there still a granite sign at the north end?
Yes. And there's still the,
And the granite one's still on the south end too. They didn't take that down. Right?
yeah, the granite one is at the south end. And then at the north end is also that little wooden sign
Right.
that is not pictured on the front of this. It says down Litchfield.
Right.
That I think Kevin Lynch's son did that for the same project.
Oh, nice. So do we just need to add photos here? Is that what we need? Is that what you need from
Yeah,
us?
I mean, we may not. Well, so one of the things that had been mentioned was the welcome sign, the welcome signs that had been mentioned when we did the picture gathering exercise. However, this might be more than just the welcoming signs at the town and at the two ends of town. It might be something where you think more about setting a standard for what your expectations are for commercial business signs to look like. That's something where you do have the ability to comment on that design aesthetic. And so, do you want a big not plastic, it's like Lexan or something like that, illuminated sign down in the historic Old Town Center?
Probably not.
Right. So thinking about character and appropriateness in a neighborhood, what might be more appropriate for certain locations in town. And so that you might explore further here. The welcome signs was just a note that, yes, we had talked about that, but the rest was still to be developed.
Because we have a sign chapter. That's laws on signs, right? Those new
You do have a sign.
But for here on the community, the sign would be
Yeah.
a little different.
So
Okay.
you
So
have,
by
you have a
location.
very bare bones sign ordinance that kind of that says your height. It's kind of has a standard on lighting, and that's about it. But it really doesn't get into what actually looks good.
The design.
Exactly. And so this is where you can have some comment on the design. And because this is non-binding, you're kind of just putting something out there for, the town to say, this is what we envision. When you come in with a sign application, this is what we have in our heads. And it's putting people on notice that you do have a certain aesthetic in mind as what fits your community. And you're really hoping that they'll come in with something that fits that aesthetic. As opposed to having someone come in with something that you get and then you look at it and go, dear goodness gracious, that's the ugliest thing I've ever seen. And that's possible. You could be in that situation. I actually said that as a board member myself. So
we'll expand on that commercial, historic, or whatever.
yeah, I mean, and we
By
can talk about
location
that
or whatever.
tonight and just some general thoughts.
Just a general question. I have no idea why this happens. I've only been to a few towns where I see their street signs are in red and everybody else seems to be in green. Is there a reason for that?
I don't know. There's a handful that do them in blue.
I never
as well.
understood
Blue, I've
that.
seen
It's out
yellow.
of scope here, but
I've seen blue. I've seen yellow.
I don't know. I'm just street signs. I'm trying to make
Yeah,
it, but
the
I
white with
didn't
the
understand
black
why.
lettering. Yes. I think it all
Okay.
depends on the town.
Page 13. First of all, I guess both bullets. I think I just need to understand here the southern connection to Albuquerque Avenue. when we began this, I want to understand how far, where are they going to 102 on this? How would they go down? How would they do that? Because I know the 3A 102, you get to this area, you go across, you go past the high school. Was that what we had a member here before who talked maybe potentially blighting the land in there to get to 102? Was a strategy that somebody talked about? I'm not sure what this is talking about. I don't know how they would do it. It says the second possibility is economic alternative would be to connect to Route 102.
This is pulled from your future land use chapter. These were just things that.
Yeah, I just don't know how they would do it. But we had someone in our group bring up maybe getting the land. You know, we wouldn't put it in this chapter, but as a strategy to get it to happen, maybe to get that land in between, we know where Albuquerque ends. I don't want to say near Cutler Road, but somewhere up on that area.
Right.
If that was the envision, I don't know.
Page.
Yeah.
It comes out at
Close to
Page
Cutler.
Road, right?
I know
Right.
at one point there were, Joan, you know better than I do.
This is-
the
I
old
So I have no
Albuquerque
idea
plans.
if the thought was to just continue.
Yeah, that was
They were
before
gonna
me, so I don't
continue
remember.
Across
Oh, no.
behind the houses on Cutler,
Right.
swing up to 102, and then dead end Cutler at Page, have a little cul-de-sac. And
Was that the original plan when they did the whole Albuquerque?
well, I don't know if it was the original, but it's been talked about fairly recently.
Okay, so that might be what this means. I just didn't know where. I knew Cutler Road was there, but okay. So is that something that we need to, a second possibility?
So again, like as Cassie mentioned, these two bullets, and the same with over on page 12, the multipurpose path improvements bullet, those are lifted directly from your future land use chapter. Those don't necessarily belong here or are intended to continue to live here, but are more plunked down for reference. So that when we're talking about the things that we've already said in the future land use chapter, for this chapter here, we would say, how would you do that? Or what would that look like? So it's intended so that this community design chapter will take that bullet to a next level of design thought in terms of trying to articulate how that would be implemented.
Yeah, I don't even know who owns that land. You know, I don't know if that's our role.
The town does. The town owns
owns
behind.
that. Okay.
There, yeah.
Hello. All right. So that was something to look at for transportation, right? The bridge. I think the only thing I said was here. You said that you could render Litchfield commercial zones. I think instead of and again, I'm just throwing it out there. Instead of saying add a bridge crossing, can we say explore?
Well, again,
explore adding?
Again, this is already language in your adopted future land use
Oh, so we
chapter.
need to go look at that.
So, and that you just updated a year ago. So the
Boy.
question is not necessarily editing this, but it's just, again, this is here
Building
just
on
as a
this. This is just-
placeholder, as a
So adding a
conversation
bridge,
prompt.
so it's like we want to
This
do
is
it,
just
you know?
a to-do.
We should
Yeah, so
explore
just think
adding
of
a
these
bridge.
bullets as a conversation prompt.
Yes.
Okay, so you don't
Yeah,
know
so
if
this
this
is a-
actually belongs in here.
This
but we
does
need
not,
to review
no,
that.
and it will not stay here because
Right.
it's already somewhere
So you're
else.
just giving us
Right.
examples.
Yeah.
No, I'm
Kind
giving you a
of.
conversation prompt. I'm saying,
Gotcha.
let's talk about this bridge crossing. And if you were to have a bridge crossing, what would it look like?
All right, so the second one we need to kind of
Yeah.
look at. Explore.
And
Okay.
same with the Albuquerque thing.
And then- so
if
both
you
of
were to
these are in the
extend
future
Albuquerque, what would the cross section of that road look like? Would you continue the bike path? What would that look like? Would it be tree lined? Would it be like a boulevard? Would it be like a smaller street? What would that, so it's just, again, these bullets are conversation prompts just to say, okay, if we do this, what does it look like? Or to say, you know what, we don't feel like touching this at this point. We're not even going to dump it.
Okay.
How can you say on the bridge crossing what it would look like? Because the state would be doing that. They would
Well,
be telling
that's a
you.
very
what it-
good point.
So I said explore a bridge.
So there is always a point where the state has to listen to public input and transportation improvements. So again, we use a Concord, just in the newspaper this past weekend, there was an editorial saying we're almost past the point of no return. They're redesigning these bridges. And if you don't do it right, we're going to lose the ability to continue our bicycle and pedestrian infrastructure on this really important corridor. DOT needs to be thinking about this now before the plans get locked in place. So there is always that opportunity for the community to speak to the state and say, this is what our expectations are for this, or these are the things that are in this area that we want you, DOT, to be thinking about. We've got these sensitive areas and we want to make sure we're protecting X, Y, and Z. Whatever that is, it's your opportunity to communicate that. And you want to do that early as opposed to, as might be the case in Concord, too late.
Too late. Sorry, I was behind there. I asked why the drawing was there on page 14, but I'm looking at it. I just think it's more the symbols, really. I know this is the 275th, but
I believe it's there because we want to make sure we fold it in as an illustration, but we didn't have a spot for it yet. So it's there as we want to incorporate this. Yeah.
That's cute.
So basically think about everything from page 12 on as just kind of stuff that we stuck there to think about. Thoughts. Exactly. Those are very incomplete at this point. And that was part of what we hope to get, beyond the general comments on the stuff that's been drafted thus far. This is the next stuff to think about and talk about and how you want to go about approaching it.
I didn't know I was supposed to envision. I thought that was literal. That's why I was saying.
It's just it's placeholders. It's ideas and brainstorming.
The rest looks very good. I like the fire department inspecting the solar power roofs. I think I threw that one in. That was good.
Any comments from the subcommittee? I know you're only one person here.
Sorry. Counts.
But
No,
okay,
not in the moment.
no, I think it's well done.
About so far, yeah. That's good so far.
Very good.
So I guess the next step, I think, is to try and get an idea of what probably what these things should basically, in terms of improvements, look like, whether it be for discussion about transmission infrastructure, and what do we want to see as the future of Litchfield unfolds.
Let's start with the top one. What is signage?
What's that?
Let's start with the top one.
Yeah.
Signage.
Yeah.
Come on, wake up. I'm trying to think what we had in that PowerPoint. So just here.
Just in my
We
mind.
had other
have the
signs in there.
Residences, what they kind of look like. Like we have the businesses, what we think they'll look like at both ends of town. Then we have certain streets that we have today, right? So the transportation makes sense. It folds in next or signage. I'm just trying to get.
And the majority of the parks are following the same signage now.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, we talked about the one for River Access last night. It's going to look a lot like the one that's over at Dara and over at
Oh,
Sawmill.
okay. I should put that in there. That's a very good point.
Yep.
Okay. So all the parks have the same signage, font, color.
Consistency.
Same type of layout.
A lot of Velcro.
I mean, we don't have technically a historic section of town because we don't say historic district in this town.
Well,
but if we ever did, or that matures, right?
Is there a specific
don't
park
know
with
that
signs that you want to
percentage.
use as a reference or like a picture?
Did you say Dara Pond?
Yeah. And Sawmill Brook is the other one.
Oh, yeah, those are nice. Yeah, they are consistent. Yeah.
This
Yeah.
is the one that's consistent. These were different ideas they had, but that's the one that's
Yep.
consistent.
We see those all the time. Yeah.
This isn't the best, but
It has your logo,
What's that?
the town seal that you made is on those. Heidi made those.
Oh, great.
Long time ago,
Not that
1976.
long. Heidi made those.
That's really cool.
I'm painting that right
Keep
now
saying
for
logo,
the
it's-
banner for the Memorial Day parade. I've got it on my dining room table. Starting today.
Font and everything.
It's on the website,
I
the
think
seal.
What day is
It's
that?
on logo.
Monday, the 28th?
Yeah, it shows some consistency with it.
I have seen
Oh,
those and they
wow.
are consistent and they look very nice.
Yeah.
Those were different ideas, and everybody's kind of subcommittee stuck with the one in the upper right corner.
Yeah.
We do have signage on the conservation committee trails too, right? On those trails, which are, okay, you know, you have the
I don't know
maps.
where
You know how you have these like, which you can't see from here, but we'll give that to Joan.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're consistent or not, but they seem to be pretty consistent.
do you have this that you could send along that we could?
I think I can get a copy of it.
Okay. I just pulled up the collection of pictures that we had. The section on signage was pretty minimal, and was more just like welcome to town kind of signs. But if you look at like on some of the commercial images, you can see, well, that's residential, but you can kind of see what was going on with some of these.
Yeah.
They're right up there, yeah. Same
So I
color.
can scroll. And some others that actually had some signage built in. You know, the banner, the awnings, the sandwich boards.
Mhm.
You know, some thoughts there. That one didn't really have much signage.
But those are coming eventually to Litchfield, right? Something to think about.
Well, I mean, that's the thing is you know, to have some sort of statement for what you think it should look like, or even some just general images. It's like in here we've got little signs on. A lot of these are just kind of fits within the building architecture.
Yep.
Or like this one, the yellow one here has got the blade sign on it. That's just really simple, fits character.
Almost like a colonial type
Yeah.
feel to it.
In this town, though, you know, if you see the businesses, Small Tube, the farm stands, they help out a lot of other charities, you know, blood drive, rabies clinic. You know, they're not just used for their own business. They're used as an advertisement bulletin.
So we'll kind of find some ways to articulate.
Do we have a standard on like some of the, we don't on Albuquerque, but like we have Sawmill Estates, but some of the, like if you have a residential road, some of them have their own sign.
Yeah.
The developers put those up in the
Yeah.
beginning.
Should we look at that as a stand? I mean, they're pretty, all the ones I've seen, but I don't know if we have to limit anybody to that or.
You can suggest we can be like, it should be made out of wood. It should use nice typography.
We'll just say what the name of the.
We could show
what do
pictures. You know
call
what I mean?
that, like a
Is it?
building?
Oh my
Yeah.
God.
You know, like when you have 20 homes in that one area and you
Took
have
on a
some kind of a
split screen
sign, some landing or whatever.
Yeah. Those always look nice. Like I said, they're always made out of wood. They
Probably
always have
helps
nice
the police,
typography. They're not gaudy colors, you know. It's pretty simple.
Because I had it down here. I'm having mouse issues. It's up there, but it's not here. And I have a
Do you
different
have two
view
screens?
here. so-
Oh yeah, you
Yeah,
display,
I've got the-
display both.
And I've got
Extending.
I've got the whole thumbnail thing down at the bottom. And just a few minutes ago, I was able to hear on my screen scroll through the thumbnails while one image stayed up
You press a
there.
button. Usually, there's a button that'll like change your display output.
but I haven't pushed any buttons. I want my mouse back here. It's there. Sorry.
I think if you're looking at design, I think you want to kind of blend in, maybe because of with the agricultural piece, and you have the like the old, where the churches and all that, and the historic society building, those types of buildings, the white building, that sort of New England type feel. I think that's something that
That's what I was trying to get to.
we'll probably want to encourage in terms of.
These are great signs.
So yeah, so these are some of your agricultural signs.
The Crescent Farm one's especially nice.
You're saying what time period for that stretch? If we broke up that area, you'd want something more for the time.
Well, I
period.
think, yeah, because I think, if you're going to provide for the character of the town, I think you need something that's going to stand out as, looking the New England feel. It's people are in a rural area and, they want to experience the rural, I don't know if you want to call it ambiance, or, the ability to sort of appreciate the historical significance behind it too, as well. So,
The sign should speak to both the building architecture and the function, I guess. I don't know. I don't necessarily want to say
Branding,
function.
so it's hard
yeah,
to-
it's
I don't know. I'm not a big fan of the letterboards.
the reader boards.
Yeah.
You're not the only one in the world.
But I like the McQuestion Farm one looks great.
Mm-hmm.
That's a great example of how you can do a sign right. I think.
Well, they also have that. They also have the letters underneath that.
Oh, they do.
Oh, yeah.
You see it right
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
That's true too. I forgot about that.
There's a lot of communication that goes on these
It really
boards.
is thrown for the whole town.
Yeah.
A lot of people utilize it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the church put up a letter thing underneath theirs.
Yeah.
the library does it.
It's a good way to get a lot of information out. It
Yeah,
just
you're right,
doesn't
Yeah.
look great though.
You're right.
Hmm.
You're not
I
always.
think,
That's a
I think
complicated
it
one.
looks old fashioned. I like it.
I'm just saying.
We do it here.
I
I
wouldn't-
Town hall.
I wouldn't actively discourage it in our suggestions, but I don't know if I would actively encourage it either. I would let it be as it is, and anyone who needs to do it to get a message across, that's fine. But I would be more focused on the top part of the sign, what the branding actually is, and make sure it's not something flashing or
Right. 'Cause that's
crazy
what's
gaudy
right.
colors.
That's what's important. You
Yep.
want someone who's driving by, one, not to be distracted and get in an accident, but you also want them to be able to read the sign and
Yep.
know what's happening there.
Yes.
No neon.
Yeah.
Well, we encourage no neon.
But no, I mean, that's a good point. I mean, you look at these just at this scale and, okay, granted the one sign, oops, let's go back. Let's see if we can maybe
Zoom in or something.
get them fair. So if this guy here, we kind of crop him and zoom in a little, right? To make it similar scale. Oops, why is it cropping? Crop him a little bit. And then
So where Passaconaway.
what can we read,
Sorry.
Yeah.
No, it's not.
Where Passaconaway is, right where their warehouse is right now, their maintenance. I mean, that used to be the farm that my family owned, Natticook Farm.
Okay.
So like when you go to the end of Hillcrest and you see that little ranch with a split rail around it,
Yes.
like my family, I still have a family member living in there. That was my parents' house.
Oh, okay.
And the sign hanging out there is the sign from our farm, Natticook Farm. And it's actually like almost identical to the shape of this Mount Vernon sign.
Okay.
So that's the sign that we had for our farm. Where's Wilson Farm?
Right here.
Their sign. In Passaconaway, and then there's now.
I think-
Their sign.
Officially, we should encourage probably fewer words on a sign so they can be read more easily.
So
Right.
focus on clear and legible.
Yes. That's what I would say. Do signs have any kind of ADA compliance? I know with like web, there's like WCAG, and you got to worry about color difference to be able to see it.
That's a really good question. And I have not seen that included as part of a regulatory review process.
It's interesting.
So that's a very good question. I would say for your own business, I would presume that would be
the goal.
On your own,
you'd want to be able to read it.
Right.
Yeah.
I do know that when, the communities in New Hampshire that do review signs, and, I've told you guys I sit on Concord's design review committee, and one of the things we do review is signs, and no joke, it was one of the signs that I looked at, and can't say there was nothing positive to say, nothing. And you just have to look at it and you go, I'm sorry, but this is really poorly designed. And you can't look at and comment on the words. If you have to read it to, provide your comments, no. But if you look at the sign and what's presented to you and you say, a car driving down the street is not going to know what this says. I really recommend you reduce the number of words on your sign. You can do that. You have that authority to do that. You can't tell them which words to put on their sign.
Right. Like for that bottom sign there, it's
a little bit tougher to read. It's not necessarily the best font.
Yeah.
I would say.
It could be improved though. It's not a lot of words to put on a sign.
No.
It's just a matter of the way it's presented is harder to read.
Yep. I mean, and part of that is, in fairness, is the cropping. Well, that's not what to do, but
yeah, but even driving by it, I've seen.
Is it hard? Still harder.
It's still harder
trying to
see.
Play with it and see if it's just how I have it on here that's not doing it justice. See if we can get a little bit nicer to them.
It's a thinner font, and I suppose it fits more words on it.
Yep.
But
the large part.
But again, when you start talking about a company, this is a company. They're going to have their own color scheme and logo.
Yeah, brand colors and everything. Yeah, absolutely.
And legally, you have to say what your name of the company has to be what you do.
And he wanted to include the address.
Yeah.
So it's hard to dictate.
It's harder to see. Oh, I didn't even notice he had the address on it.
Yeah, the address is on there. And then there's that piece over to the right where he hangs
He's got his... Which this is actually a great idea. I've seen other farms that will do that, and it prevents having to do the reader board.
Yes,
so
I like that concept.
It allows it when you have different things in season, you hang the appropriate placard to indicate what is in season. But you're right. I mean, the font on this is not the easiest font to read. DeRochers, you can't really read that it's DeRochers, but you can certainly read that is blueberries.
Yep.
You know what you're getting there.
Yep.
And it's conveying the most important message, blueberries.
Yep.
McQueston Farm, most important message, McQueston Farm. That's it. That's all you need to know there.
I think the year established makes you want to go in there as well.
That is definitely, yeah. Yep.
And I like the sign on the bottom right. I don't want to say it out loud for anybody watching, but the thing on the top with what they sell tells you all you need to know without words. Right?
There's a little logo that
but again,
works pretty well.
This is a personal preference, right? I don't know if we can dictate that other than
right. And that's the thing.
Well, for sure. But if the whole sign was the bottom font,
yeah,
I would certainly say maybe consider changing your sign. I wouldn't. I would say in our if we were to put something down on paper, I would say avoid smaller fonts like that.
You're not doing yourself. You're the business owner. You're not doing yourself any favors.
Yeah, a white background would have made it pop. It would be better than that.
Yep, and that's why I was saying
that's not our. We can make a suggestion.
Yeah, exactly. That's this whole section is only suggestions.
And a lot of from flying. A lot of them are colorblind,
risk,
right? A big chunk of the male population is colorblind, so you're making a comment there that.
Yep.
You do have an obligation, though, if someone brings something in that you look at and you're like, this is a safety risk. Absolutely not. You can say no.
Yeah.
This is a safety risk. So that gets into your flashing lights, things that are creating glare, and it might be creating glare on passing vehicles, anything to that effect does have a safety impact, you can say no.
Right.
You're not regulating, you're not infringing upon free speech. You're saying you're creating a hazard for people in the right of way. Mm-hmm. And I'm sorry, no. What's the chances you're going to have that? But you're flashing. It's the flashing lights. It's the ones that have the electronic reader boards where the
changing images.
Changes images.
Yeah.
Those are so distracting. And even the ones there are some communities that'll say you can only change it every 15 minutes because then it's not flashing at you. I'm sorry if you happen to be the one person that drives by when it changes. I'll tell you, my eyes go like, wait, what? What just happened? And it's just human nature.
Mm-hmm.
So
But we could encourage that not to be on that stretch of road.
You already don't allow it in your regulation.
Yeah.
Your regulation says no flashing lights, no glare, no changeable electronic reader board. Something to that effect.
So we've already taken care of that.
But I like that everyone's unique. And before they even paid for that, they did a lot of design work. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Those signs aren't cheap.
Right.
That's true.
Right. That said, I've seen some done by, like an individual property owner who's done their own sign that are really lovely. So it doesn't necessarily require going to a graphic designer and going to a sign company. It does not require doing something expensive to have a good looking sign. There are many talented business owners. Again, Concord, I've seen some come in hand painted, gorgeous.
Yep.
So it all depends on, and they'll create their sign in advance and take some photos and bring it in and say, please come hang my sign. I've already made it. And you feel really bad. And fortunately they look good. So
The only thing I really discourage is like super small font and then like cheap plasticky looking signs I hate the look of. But other than that, I think that there's a lot of freedom when it comes to signs as long as it's not flashing and creating a hazard. And it's going to be up to each owner what their brand image is.
Yeah.
But I would strongly encourage them to go with like contrasting colors if possible, whenever possible, because it's going to help them get more business because people will be able to see them better.
Contrasting colors, colorblind friendly.
Yeah.
And I also think too, I mean,
For their
I
own
think,
benefit too.
yeah, I think what we, trying to encourage, whether it's, whatever that architecture of that building is, it's gotta
stay
fit.
in line. Yeah.
I think it has to fit in with, and whether it's an agricultural.
So
whether
yeah,
it's
so
a-
like for your,
you know.
so your building sign, it's got to fit within the building architecture, and then your freestanding signs have to at least respect and reflect the surrounding character.
right.
Yeah, I can
You
agree.
can't
with
have
that.
like a sign that's going to be something that's, totally different than what, I don't know what the building looks like, or, it's, or something that's going to be so, garish or, outlandish.
Some pink and orange, something that you can't even read because it's the same colors on the billboard. I've seen a couple of companies try to go with stuff like that. Doesn't help. Can't read it. Also doesn't look good.
It is true, though. We know if you just don't even look at those. You know in town which signs look good and which ones don't. And and
You
probably
highlight the
some would
ones that
agree
look
which
good.
ones
Exactly.
don't.
We say
But
we can-
to
we
them,
can-
it's gorgeous. And,
we can point out some of the ones that look great and say, if you follow this example, you'll be doing all right.
just a guideline, though, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Just a guideline.
Definitely not regulation. This is not any kind of
But
regulation.
I like what you said about the time period,
Yeah.
what you're selling,
Mhm.
and respect. Yeah.
And I think also
Surrounding
that it's
area.
visible, that you're able to it's not something that, that's going to distract you,
Yep.
essentially, or it's going to be a distraction. So that's important too.
Cool. See,
All right.
just this section. So the next step was Cassie was furiously writing down everything that you wrote. As the conversation evolved, she did herself a favor and actually crossed out the stuff that changed, as opposed to the notes that I took her back that just showed the evolution of the conversation and never actually crossed out stuff that you crossed out in the conversation.
Nice job.
We did have a few moments where she's like, "This conflicts.
Yeah.
What are we doing here?" So
We have a lot of ideas, so it's just.
no.
Brainstorming process.
Exactly.
I still
So
like,
yeah, so you've
I
got some
still like
ideas
the
and
low
things you can
tech
pull in
message
and
billboard.
There's
There's a conversation with that blueberry paste now. We are open. You know, we were gonna not
We're
selling.
selling
Yeah, we
and
it's
opening.
true. We're open.
I don't know. It just doesn't look great to me.
the reader board.
Yeah.
See, that blueberry one alone has been
The-
going on in
the-
town.
the black
they
and
weren't
red
gonna
doesn't help
renew this
also,
year.
I will
Now they
say.
found a buyer. They are going to renew. So you're driving by and you're getting an update every time you go by. You're like,
I mean, it's functionally, it's really a good idea, but like design wise, the way it looks,
but this is what the farmers do, right?
Yeah,
This is
for
the way
sure.
you.
and it's a great way to
grew
send a
up there.
message.
Yeah.
I'm not
It's
arguing with
respecting
that.
the area the way it was, right? You know. More
I
than
do
I.
really think that the little cards to the side is a cool
That
like
is nice.
way around that. I think that's a really neat.
We hung up signs like that at our farm.
These.
Yeah, those little hanging ones.
We had those all the way across the roadside stand, and they were changeable, you know.
Yeah,
Based
that's,
on
that's a really good
They look
idea.
great.
This was available.
So when the certain things were ready,
Yep.
you could put those up, and then
It still looks
once
great.
those were gone by, take them down, put the next thing up, whatever. So yeah, they were changeable.
That's awesome. It's a great idea.
But the other ones help with Knights of Columbus have a blood drive.
Yeah.
Rabies
Yeah.
clinic. You know, it's
Yep.
more like a.
I know.
Well, that's why I like those
It's a
at
tough
the
thing.
parks. I think they look fine, but it's just everywhere. It gets a lot of information all over the place.
Well, that's actually a good point. So when you start thinking about the how frequent they end up being utilized, if you drove down 3A and every 200 feet, every 500 feet, you've got another changeable copy sign, it will start to look cluttered. And so that is something that you do want to think about. And so then how do you enforce that in a way that's uniform?
Yeah, so we could say like farms and parks could have them. And then
You can't.
Probably
You
have
can't.
7 going on through there.
Because you gotta, so you have to it's gotta be
What kind
uniform in a district.
Changeable signs.
Oh, in a
Like the top
district.
right one?
Yeah.
So you can't say, okay, if you're this
Voting
use,
time.
Yeah.
you can
Great,
do
they
this,
really
but
are.
if you're
They
this,
work well.
no, sorry, you have to do something different, because then you're infringing upon their free speech.
Yep.
Or you
All
saw
right, that makes
vote no
sense.
on question 9. Well, you know what I mean? You could see. Or some of them, I'll just go rabies clinic. You know what I mean? You just see the message over and over.
I certainly don't want to discourage. I mean, the changeable signs. I think people. That's fine. I mean, I think that getting the information out is important to people. It's important to their business, and I certainly don't want to discourage that. But at the same time, figuring out a way to, as you say, make it uniform is going to be the issue, and which I don't know how you would. I don't know if that can be done. I don't know.
Yeah.
There's a guy coming in through Hudson. He puts a joke on the sign like once a week, right? And you get the
Oh,
answer.
yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
But you're right. Maybe if Route
Those are always
3A
great.
does boom,
Mhm.
and there's a lot of signs, that's another time to look at it, right? Right now, it's not that bad, right?
So you could put like a note in the master plan, maybe that just simply says, in the future, the board should think about, a policy relative to changeable type reader
Yeah.
boards. That should there be a sudden influx of requests for this type sign, the town might want to consider something to fairly and uniformly enforce a policy to minimize visual clutter. And just kind of leave it at that.
Yeah.
And then it says, listen, we're open to them. We recognize they serve a function
Mhm.
and a purpose that benefits the community. We certainly don't want to ban them, but we don't want to see the proliferation of.
Because I do think they are a benefit to the
Yes,
town.
most
And
definitely.
certainly, I mean, I think it's great that the library is able to advertise different events, and that the town can advertise different events, and other businesses can advertise their thing, and I think that's important. I certainly don't want to discourage that.
Only that the sign here at Town Hall.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right,
It's a
exactly.
readable
Same thing.
change in the
Yeah.
letters, you know.
So,
I just applied for it myself to advertise the Strawberry Festival.
Hey,
But it says something about the owners too, that they're willing to do that.
Yeah.
Right?
it shows that you've got a civic minded business and you don't want to discourage that by any means. You know. Okay, so I guess I would say also if you've got pictures, email them over to Cassie that you would like included. Or if you don't have Cassie's email, Joan does.
okay.
And Kim, I sent all of your pictures already to Cassie.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah. Got them all.
I sent the park signage to everyone.
Okay.
You have signs, Stephen. What happened to the front door? It's changed again.
The front door.
When they did the lettering, they only looked at the
Town-
clerk hours.
Right, and then it was fixed. Now it's gone again.
Oh, it wasn't fixed as of yesterday, and Troy was saying last evening that they were going to come back and they were going to redo it. I didn't even look at it today to see if it was fixed or not.
Because I thought it had,
Because we need to have multiple hours. And they
right.
just went to the
On the
website
other
and grabbed
door.
the basic hours.
Oh, okay. Just curious.
Is that going on the front door out there?
Yes.
That's nice.
Being lettered with the hours of town hall.
Is there any other questions from the board about the design chapter? Or do you have anything else you'd like to add?
So we're going to think about the transportation infrastructure?
I think that's some discussion, to think about.
For our next meeting.
But I don't think, and I think, and I think it's something that,
Because I want to research that before we really start talking about it.
yeah, I think it's something to look into and I think that's going to require a little bit of brainstorming and.
So maybe another piece Cassie could do behind the scenes to help you out is she could look at some road cross sections or other infrastructure images that we might have in our library and see if she can find some good examples to share with you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sounds good.
And bug me in the morning. I'll show you.
And you did
Now
mention,
that you're an
she did
APM
mention
member,
the,
there's
remember we
online
talked about a
resources
transportation service in town?
online, so I'll show you how to do that.
She did mention that in a prior section.
Yeah.
But this
That
is
would be
more-
part of this.
I don't know if it would, because this looks like roads and bridges.
Yeah.
You did mention in this document about potentially having a transportation service in town, or, it was, but I don't know if it goes here, because this looks like roads and bridges to
Yeah.
me.
So, I mean, the transportation servicing, I don't know that it necessarily fits here unless we were talking like bus stops, but I think the type transportation services we were talking about would be door-to-door service, not a bus stop type service. Because
Senior
again,
center, some kind of thing.
yeah, I mean, the transportation chapter is definitely a chapter you could easily tackle as a future one to update, and I think you'd get more into those type of weeds.
Yeah,
in
but you
that
mentioned it
chapter.
earlier. You
Yeah.
mentioned it in there. It was good.
Yeah.
Didn't we mention a bike path, like connect the neighborhoods or something?
Yes, that is the multi-purpose path improvements.
That might be
right
difficult.
under gathering places, and that might be
Smart
something really
planning.
simple. We can just grab a couple pictures and just talk about what that looks like.
I'm not sure what authority we have, you know what I mean? We're trying to envision something that's not here and who builds the roads and, kind of thing.
You know what? That's
it's
the
not
thing.
really-
This is
yeah.
just a dream.
It's
you
a-
know?
yeah,
So
it's a
laying
vision.
out-
It's not-
Yeah.
Yeah.
Vision, huh?
It's not a reality.
It's
All right.
this is where those.
Vision.
This is where things. This is where ideas are promulgated, right? So it's you start with here's an idea, and this is what I think this idea should look like, and then you sit, and you get it down, and you kind of go through the process of just kind of thinking it through a little bit, trying to articulate what it is, and then you have something that says, okay, this is what we want for our community, and then you start the process of shopping it around and saying, how do we do this? Is it truly appropriate? Is it feasible? What would it take to get it done? And then you use this just simply as like a way to kind of articulate some ideas, put them down, and it's a starting point for exploring what you might want your community to look like in the future.
But our subcommittee ideas that everybody brought are in here. I did a good job. The stores, the rivers.
Cassie did a very good job of
Yeah.
putting this
But we want
together.
to thank
Nice
them
job.
for coming in. I mean, all your work is in here. The whole team that came in.
Okay.
Do we have any more maps that we're doing? We did the parks. Were those the three big ones?
You can do more.
Did we just have the three? What we gotta do? I don't remember.
Did the three. That was
Those
what
are
we
the
had
big ones? Okay.
identified.
I don't remember.
You can certainly draw anything else you want to draw.
Oh, but I just want to make sure if we had three, we did the three.
I forgot the bag of markers. Cassie was good. She brought the little trace, and I forgot the bag of markers. I pulled in and I went, oh, they're on my desk.
Well, that might be something we can do for next time.
Well, I don't know if there's anything else to do.
Yeah.
If we just had the three, we did them, right? We
That's
did
true.
Darrah Pond,
If you have anything
this
else,
area.
Did we finish everything?
Darrah Pond in there, right?
And they have the town halls in there. and
Darrah
then-
Pond, she did the town hall area, and she
Okay.
did River's Edge.
Yeah.
We talked about the fire station and the town center too. So
I just didn't know if we had a
Liberty
fourth one.
Way Park.
Liberty Park.
So the subcommittee was still on with the subcommittee? We're still doing versions or
for going forward, yeah.
are you? Yeah.
Keep started in your
We're down to one.
It's kind of funny, yeah. We started like I don't know, 12 people, and now yeah, or something, yeah. 20, yeah.
No, I'll keep going.
Contributed their
Wait, it's
brainstorming
every
and-
other meeting, right? Not
Yes.
every-
Usually the
Every
third
other.
week of the month.
As long as you're working on it.
No, I think it's coming along, and I think we're doing a pretty good job of putting it together. So.
We're gonna keep the old fireplace, fire station there.
Has there anything been decided on that?
Yes.
Look at the new one. The bond has been
We
approved.
got the old
both
fire station
legally
here.
and
They want the new one here.
approved, so-
Now we just have some permitting to get through and then they can start construction.
Wow.
That's the one that's hand painted.
We don't know. Do you want a picture of the old one on this chapter?
And in terms of the old building, do they know what they're gonna?
No, not at all.
No, that's up in the air. Yep.
Some ideas from here. Ideas from
Oh, you did take pictures of the park. I did see that. The email.
Yeah, on the other side.
On the other
And
side.
I sent them to Jen to show us
That's pretty interesting.
what this looks like from the other
And
the other side.
Yeah, from the-
because we're going to put the park there, hopefully, on our side.
Mhm.
They're putting one exactly across on their side, so you would be looking at each other. And Heidi was there.
That's awesome.
Yes.
That's one of I went on a trip to Texas last spring, and I went to Waco, and there's a suspension bridge there that used to be part of the Chisholm Cattle Trail that's just for people to walk on now. And it was kind of interesting when I went down to that both sides of the river were beautiful parks. You know, walkways for people, both sides of the river. Yeah, it was really nice. Lots of landscaping, sculpture.
That would be an idea, just an idea, but having could have a walking bridge that could connect Merrimack and Litchfield. I mean, just
How much would that cost?
I don't know. It's just an idea. We're visioning. So
What about
she meant
boats?
walking bridge. So I was.
Yeah, well,
What's the tallest thing that goes down that river?
What's that?
What's the tallest boat that would go down?
Because you can't make this a regulation. It's just
I mean,
Okay, height wise on the bridge.
This
Maybe
is-
we should
I
go
think
to
we
the
need
same
to
height.
vote on
We
it.
go to
Yeah.
Manchester because they already got walking.
They do have bridges.
Yeah.
Is that in our bridge section?
That's what we got.
We can put the ferry back as our.
For next time.
Regulations is kind of said, this is how you
What else
should
is on the
do it.
agenda tonight?
And we sent a picture where the ferry was, across from the tavern next to the town hall, right? That white building next to the town hall, the old town hall, the White
Yeah.
House.
the
Yeah.
Griffin
Right
Tavern,
there was where the old ferry was.
Okay.
the Frank residence, which used to be the Griffin Tavern at one time.
Nice. Okay. Great. Well, Jen, thank you very much. Cassie, thank you very much for all of your work on this. We look forward to continuing our discussion of community design. If there's no other questions from the board, I'm just going to move on to something else, if that's okay.
I think I forgot one thing.
Oh, go ahead.
Remember we talked about wildlife and all that? We care. Not to overbuild or.
For this chapter,
Remember we talked about what we liked about the town was
yes.
seeing wildlife.
Open space, maybe, or
We talked about open space. Yeah,
Yeah.
we did. They did in here. Yeah,
Yeah.
You're right.
Or maybe just like something,
You're saying you were protected in the farm.
just maybe like you got G,
preservation.
GH, maybe
Yeah.
do a new I here and then bump the others and do open space and then focus on like the greenery and
Okay.
as a,
Open space, greenery, and wildlife.
yeah.
A lot of dead beavers this year.
And there's plenty in the,
They're not doing well. Keep seeing them.
Okay. Gotcha. We can do that.
We had an assignment before you started of what we liked about Litchfield.
Mhm.
Many places to worship, the wildlife that's here, the turkeys. So I don't know if they wanted to, but we're controlling that, I guess, with the land use chapter, how many homes we can
it's
build.
online. So the PowerPoint that I just
Have to put it in.
showed you all,
I can draft something.
yeah.
Yeah.
But I would say the PowerPoint for those that kind of join the process. No, come on, redirect there. Yeah, that join the process midway in. If you go to the planning board's webpage, there's this link up here that's draft planning documents and blah 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 blah. This is the site that we as staff have access to edit and update, and it's just more things that aren't official yet. And so we have a because this is public facing. I've been posting all the kind of stuff here as opposed to your regular meeting Google site because your meeting Google site is just for you. The public can't see that. So have each meeting, I've got a little sub page for. I'm trying to think when we did the PowerPoint. I want to say October, November.
Yeah.
Right here.
Sure,
So the
we-
visualizing
we got it
community
in here,
design.
so.
This is the file here. Can you see it's kind of big?
Okay.
But that's a PDF of that PowerPoint is right here.
Is that all the pictures we sent in?
Yeah, that's all. Yeah,
wanna make
the
sure,
pictures.
if we-
yeah. So it's
anything we
here so
missed.
that any of you
Something
can
obvious.
grab this and kind of go back. And this was the whole exercise was, what do you like in Litchfield, or what would you like to see in Litchfield, or what would you even just like to discuss? So it wasn't necessarily not everything here has an automatic thumbs up, but they were. And then we categorized them by what they depicted. And so it's just this whole exercise that we went through, just trying to.
Can we scroll through just see if we
We
the
had
signs right
signs,
there,
we had
yeah.
recreation and open space, recreation and open space.
Yeah.
We had a lot of recreation and open space. And normally when you think community design chapter, you're talking architecture. So this kind of went a little different direction. That's okay, because this is your community design vision. We had a whole page of wildlife, you know, things we'd like to see. Old Town
We
Center.
have open space under
We do have an open
E,
space, yeah.
If you want to include.
Yeah, you do have
so
open
let's add that in there.
space.
Yeah, perfect.
and we like the old part of town. Think again.
I think on the agriculture and the forests, and we have
I just keep
different
going.
things. that move towards.
You did mention a potential new community service for seniors. You had mentioned it in there somewhere. That
think
that was
somewhere,
something
yes.
that might a health center or something.
Oh, yeah.
I think you had it in
Dare
there.
Pond. It was one of the
Somewhere where it was
suggestions
attractive to meet, functions.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not a health stop, but something along that.
Yeah.
So it looks like you get them all. Is it too soon to mention, or if we even should? You're gonna hate me for bringing it up. Heritage Commission, it's part of helping preserve the character. You mentioned we had a conservation commission in here. You mentioned a I think the recreation, no, I think there's a couple of commissions you mentioned here. I don't know if you want to put Heritage Commission in it unless it's formed.
Yeah, we
Which is
can.
the way.
I mean,
I mean, 'cause I think,
Preference if
like in your
there's a
intro, you
Heritage
said, you know, there's a few places in here where you said, actually, it was like at the top of one.
We can simply make mention that there was one established at town meeting this year. And
Right, exactly.
that will become a resource to help.
Yeah, there was a section in here where you mentioned Conservation Commission and another commission, and we can say that one with it to try to preserve everything.
That's fine.
I didn't know, I know it's kind of still not formed, so it's on its way, but not there yet.
Yeah. Can do that. Sure.
Right. I don't think we missed
Anybody,
anything.
you have anything else? Or? Okay. All right. Well, I'm gonna move on from community design to the next piece on the agenda.
I'll see you later. Thank you for coming.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
All your input's in here.
Yes, it is. Item agenda 2 this evening, refund lot line adjustment escrow funds. Rick Charbonneau, map 18, lot 53. Joan?
Yeah, I included the spreadsheet from my escrow account for that. And that was approved back in March, I believe. So all the bills are in for that.
Okay.
So I'd like to return that.
So what are you requesting? So,
To return the escrow, the remainder of the escrow amount to the owner. Or
well,
map 18 lot 53.
okay. I would entertain a motion for that.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to refund the lot line adjustment escrow funds on map 18, lot 53.
Okay, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. Second. Discussion? All those signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, abstained, motion passes 5-0-0. Okay,
Great.
thank you. Committee reports. Anybody have anything for committee reports? Anything from NRPC or?
Oh, no, meeting's coming up.
Okay.
So we'll be missing somebody at our meeting.
I would just, as a reminder,
I am sad.
I know several of you
That
are.
does.
That's my update.
Okay, thank you.
Sweet.
Um,
I was gonna say, I know several of you are already registered for. Kate is as well. The Thursday night planning board basics. That's actually Cassie running the show on Thursday night. We with the guest speaker, and then Jay has also organized for about a month later. Just a planning board member roundtable. And so that invitation has also gone out, trying to have more opportunities for planning board members to get together with other communities and just have a chance to chat, learn from one another. So the roundtable, I should know what the date is.
June 11th. It's
June 11th?
minutes,
Thank you. That one, it's a Monday, if I'm correct. I think the goal is to try and pick different days of the week because we know that no single night is perfect for all boards and all communities. And that one is just planned as an open discussion, a roundtable discussion for each of the communities to come together, share what they're working on, and just get some ideas from one another. So,
do you know what the time for that is?
6:30.
6:30? And that's at the NRPC office.
Correct.
in Raleigh.
yeah, so the goal is to try and do more of those types of events that give board members an opportunity to get together, learn, general learning, general opportunity to kind of build your skill sets as board members, and try and do those as different free opportunities, different days of the week, different times.
Like discussing between towns, too,
Yeah.
seeing what other people are doing.
Okay, great.
So we can discuss actual scenarios and see if they have something similar. Would that be a meeting outside of a meeting? I don't know.
As long as you don't show up for the quorum.
Okay. I just want to make sure because there's been some things here that we know is happening in other towns, but I
Yeah.
wasn't sure if we should approach them or not.
I mean, I wouldn't go with, I would not go with a specific case that you have open before you,
It's hypothetical.
because then you're potentially engaging in ex parte communications. But if you're keeping it as very hypotheticals, things that you might happen in the future, but you do not have an actual application before you, then you can definitely learn.
Okay. That's great. I actually did sign up for Thursday as well.
You did as well.
Today.
All right.
I did. Figured I'd, jump into it too. So I will be there on Thursday.
Yeah, I would say that even, I don't know if you've ever seen Steve Buckley speak. I mean, if you've never, he's a great speaker. If you've, been doing the planning board for a long time, you still will learn something new.
Sure.
There's always, he's always got something in there, and there's just so much to it that it's always a positive learning experience. And he's a good speaker, so.
Okay,
So.
great. Looking forward to it. Anything from the Board of Selectmen? Nothing? Okay, great. Minutes for May 1st, 2018.
Not a whole lot happened.
Not a whole lot happened. Does the board have an opportunity to take a look at them?
You're right.
And any comments? Okay, if not, I will entertain a motion to approve those minutes of May 1st, 2018.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve the minutes of May 1st, 2018.
Okay, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second. It looked great.
Okay, discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, abstained, motion passes 5-0-0. Any other items for business this evening? Nope. Joan?
Nope.
Nope. Okay. Well, if not, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Chairman, I make a motion to adjourn.
Do I have a second? Second. Okay. Discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, abstained, motion passes 5-0-0. Thank you all for joining us this evening, and have a wonderful night. Thank you.
And
But that does,
now-
and now that does not.